Do you have mixed feelings about social media? Have some or maybe nearly all of your experiences been negative? If so, this video is for you. We enjoy tackling relevant topics every week, so take a quick moment to support our efforts by subscribing to our channel and hitting the bell for notifications. Thanks so much for tuning in to LilyTube.
This subject can sometimes be a bit controversial. Social media, what's it good for? What are its downfalls? Well, Cathy, I want to point out one obvious one. Cathy and I met on Facebook. And I just want to jump in with this idea that when we were interacting in a singles group on Facebook, there was a lot of negativity in the group. And Cathy stood out as someone who made insightful and positive and productive comments. And that was my initial attraction to her, and she has said the same thing.
Exactly. When he requested my friendship on Facebook, which happened from time to time as a single woman in singles groups, I actually accepted his friend request because I noticed the same thing in him, that he was more productive and positive in his comments in that singles group. So that was definitely a great reason for us to be on social media and a huge blessing for ourselves, our posterity. I mean, really quite a blessing for us to have been there.
So for all those people that say, I don't do online dating, I don't do social media, well, that may be throwing the baby out with the bathwater. I think we can use social media in a more positive way, and we're going to get into that.
Absolutely. So, what is the law of attraction, Jeff, and what does it have to do with social media?
Well, the law of attraction was popularized recently by the book and The Secret by Rhonda Byrne and the movie called The Secret based on the same premise. And the idea is that what we focus on, we get more of, or that we can bring things into our lives by focusing on them.
And the law of attraction is at play in our lives, whether we're aware of it or not. So we can be intentional about focusing on what we want, so we'll invite more of that into our lives, or we can do the default mode, which I think most of humans have, which is to focus on the negative. That negative screams at us. We did a video on tuning out loud voices, and that's exactly what we're talking about here. The negative, loud, obnoxious voices that get our attention, and it works because so many people fall into the trap of that natural human instinct to go where there's fire, to pay attention to what feels unsafe, and make ourselves miserable in the process.
I have a friend who is a well-known and highly successful business consultant who says, I do not believe in the law of attraction. Why? Because it cheats the law of the harvest. And then Carol Tuttle, in her book, directly says, the law of attraction, this is the law of the harvest. So who's right? It depends on how you interpret it. But I don't believe that Rhonda Byrne or anyone involved with The Secret merely meant that you could dream up an idea, put it on a vision board, and sit and wait for it to come. When we wrote our book, we didn't just put it on a vision board and wait for it to show up written for us. We wrote it. So there's an element of intention, but then we go about trying to help those things come true, and we find that if we focus on the thing we want more of, we ultimately get more of it.
And I think it's a lifelong process.
Right.
I mean, really, to master this does take a lifetime, because I still have to catch myself when I'm focusing on something negative and realizing, oh goodness, I'm attracting more of that into my life. I don't want to do that.
Right. If I can make one more point about the law of the harvest, there are lots of things that can interfere with you having the harvest you want. You could have a pest infestation. You could have a flood. You could have a drought. I mean, you know, go on and on about the things that could harm your crop. And I used to think, you know, you reap what you sow kind of meant you get out of it what you put into it. That's not really true. I mean, I guess it's true in the sense that Jesus said, do men gather thorns of grapes or figs of thistles? You know, he's saying basically, if you plant thistles, you're not going to get grapes. So in that sense, it's true. But how much you get is not necessarily going to be in proportion to your effort. Here's what I can say about that. Take corn for an example. Each corn stalk has 2 ears, and each ear has approximately 800 kernels. So one kernel of corn can multiply itself in one growing season 1,600 times. We call that the law of multiplication. And so whether you have a drought or a storm or a flood or whatever it may be, one of the important things is to keep planting what you want, to keep sowing, because ultimately, regardless of what comes up to interfere, the law of multiplication is going to have its way. And if you don't stop sowing.
I would love to bring up the fact here that we have a lot of singles out there, single adults who have gotten so tired of dating, so frustrated with the whole process, they just give up.
Right.
They just stop. And they decide it's not working, it's never going to work. But it doesn't work until it does, and it only has to work once. So I love this law of multiplication and the idea that if we keep putting in the effort, eventually we will have the desires of our hearts, and we can keep believing in it. And when we do that, we invite the law of attraction to work in our favor when we continue believing that it's possible. Now, how does this all relate to social media? Well, obviously, if you're single, we would encourage you to be social. That's how we met.
Right.
And sometimes that's what we need in this day and age when we're all home and on our computers. I mean, this is the way we can go about it. Now, does your experience have to include a lot of negative on social media? I actually don't think so. Maybe it might have a little. Now, when we created our Love in Later Years organization, our group has grown to 1,600 members and it's continuing to grow. And we've attracted a lot of really positive people who've been through a lot of really hard trials in their life. How did we do that? Well, I think that's because that's the energy we're putting out. That's our intention. And we focus on all of that authentic, real, productive communication in our group. And really, people are showing up for each other. Like, any question you throw out there will be met with love and kindness and understanding and empathy. And I love that about our group.
So come join our group, actually.
Definitely. Love in Later Years. We have a page and a group. We also have Love in Later Years Instagram. And everything we post is meant to be elevating and relevant. So it's not just fluff. It's not just let's be happy and merry. You know, we've both been through divorce. We know what that's like. We know what it's like to be a single parent. We know the stuff that's hard. And we've learned how to use the law of attraction in our favor. The law of attraction actually mirrors how we use social media. And that's something I discovered and we wrote about in our Amazon bestselling book, Intentional Courtship, that social media mirroring the law of attraction means that whatever you comment on, whatever you like, whatever you literally focus on with the clicks that you make, with the things that you write, more of that will show up in your feed. I once made the mistake of commenting on a negative thing, but with a positive spin. And then I started getting more negative posts in my feed. I just didn't do it again, and they gradually disappeared. Now, that doesn't mean I only ever choose to click like or comment on something that's positive, meaning like a wedding or a baby, being born, or, something that we consider positive in life. I also really like and comment on authentic hardship that is expressed in a productive way, because I don't mind having that come up. That's real. That's real life. But the negative stuff, sometimes we get negative comments from people who don't understand what we're offering, what we're doing, or what our intentions are. And if we let that get us down, we'd stop doing this. But we just kind of let it go, because what's the point of that? That's not going to help us make a positive difference in the world.
I grew up in an age when President Ronald Reagan and House Speaker Tip O'Neill didn't see eye to eye on hardly anything. But they were two Irishmen, basically, who would get together after the end of the day for a drink, and they were friends, and they liked each other. And so they were able to work and find common ground together for the good of the country that we all loved. Well, today there are hundreds of millions of people on Facebook and other social media. Everybody can essentially have their own TV station. So it's tough to be heard above the noise. We experience that. We have positive content on this channel, which we hope you'll subscribe to. But we have positive content on this channel, and it's hard to get noticed. It's hard to get heard above all of the other voices out there saying other things. What I want to emphasize, particularly in the realm of relationships, is positivity attracts positivity. Like attracts like. There's that verse in section 88 of the Doctrine and Covenants that light cleaveth unto light, that virtue loveth virtue. You know, and you could go on, but it's basically that birds of a feather flock together. And we found that to be really true, just as we mentioned in the beginning, that we noticed each other in a singles group. We stood out because we weren't bagging on our former spouses, and we weren't acting, angry and bitter. But we were trying to think of positive ways to deal with some hard things.
And it didn't mean that we didn't have our moments, but we chose to use social media in a manner that was more beneficial to the law of attraction for ourselves.
Right. If this resonates with you, we hope you'll share this channel with other people who want positive, insightful content. And especially on social media, as much as anywhere else in the world, the law of attraction, that you're going to get back what you put out, is really true.
So what would you say to people who say, I'm not on social media, I got a Facebook, it's so negative? I mean, we know it's out there, right?
That you're going to find what you are looking for.
And you're going to find what you allow in.
How many of you have seen that movie, Pollyanna? It's kind of, you call someone a Pollyanna if they're always bright and cheery. And, it's this kind of cheesy Disney movie, but it's about a little girl who comes to this town. She teaches everyone to play the glad game. Whenever anything bad comes up, she comes up with some reason to be glad about it. And her father taught her this. And there's a time when she's talking to her pastor, and he's kind of a negative person, and she said that her father had found something that helped him one time. And it was engraved on a locket that she had. It was a quote by Abraham Lincoln. If you look for the bad in mankind, expecting to find it, you surely will. And that's the law of attraction. You're going to find what you're looking for. This is a big world. You're going to notice what you expect to be out there. So if you think there's no good men left, you're going to see all the bad ones. That's what you're going to notice. If you believe there is someone special out there for you, you're going to see more good ones.
And if you talk about all your dating experiences and focus on all of the negative things that have happened in those relationships, you'll probably keep attracting that. I personally decided, because I understood the law of attraction, I wanted it to work in my favor, that when I talked about my dating experiences, I tried to focus on the positive. And I had a lot of really great men show up in my life. And I am so blessed to have gotten to know those people and to have been able to intentionally choose Jeff from among all the really great guys I got to know. Now, does that mean I never had a negative experience? I mean, I got F-bombed once when I broke up with a guy. It doesn't mean I didn't experience anything negative. I once got left on a mountaintop. Yeah, I actually said, I'm a little afraid of heights. I'm going a little slow. Will you please stay with me? And he did not. So I experienced those things, but I don't talk about it. Both on and off screen, I've shared a couple of things that, didn't work out so well for me in the dating realm, and they were really frustrating, but I don't tend to share them. I didn't even write about them in our book because what's the point? I don't want that to be the thing I remember about my dating years. So, how does that have to do with, let's just bring it back to social media again, because I think this is super important. I think it's something a lot of people do not understand, is that I'm just going to go on social media and whatever comes, comes. No, we can be intentional about how we show up on social media and ultimately what comes to us and what our experience is with it.
Do you want a partner that is insightful? Well, be insightful yourself. Do you want a partner that's positive? Be positive yourself. Do you want a partner that knows a lot of cool information about a lot of things? Read books, watch documentaries on Netflix or History Channel, whatever. That's the key to finding what you want on social media. Like I said, there's hundreds of millions of people out there. Many of them are negative, but at least some are not. And if you're putting the positive vibes out there, that's what's going to come back to you.
Yes, and whether you're looking for a companion or not, we encourage you to do your social media with intention, and with the focus on whatever you want to attract more of, because you will.
And when you do have a negative experience, which Cathy just acknowledged she did, I remember there was one woman that she broke up with me 3 times. And we got back together and dated more, and each time it just broke my heart. And, I still look back on her as positive. I look back on that relationship with gratitude for the things it taught me. And, when I think about it, why was I hurt? Because I cared about her, and because she was a person that I wanted to date for marriage, and I considered her to be at least a candidate for that. And, why would I want to trash somebody that I once would have considered marrying? I don't want to do that. And as I look back, I have a lot of perspective on that situation. So look for the people out there who speak well of their former spouses, who speak well of their former dating partners. Those are the people that are more healed.
And we call that real love in dating. And we just did a podcast on Lily Pod. So if you like to listen to podcasts, that's a great one. And it's one that we've gotten a lot of comments on from people who really appreciate the idea that we don't have to create discordant relationships with people we used to date or people that we used to know and have negative feelings. We don't have to create that. We can have real love in dating and relationships, even if it doesn't work out, even if we'd hoped it had but it didn't. We can really love and care about the people that we've known in the past and keep those good memories. And that's really what I think will encourage more positive interaction on social media as well, is are you kind and benevolent with your formers?
I can share something that some of you might think is a little strange, but I don't think it's that strange. On my birthday last year, Cathy and I went out to dinner with one of my former dating partners and her husband, and just renewed that friendship, and it was a pleasant, positive, happy experience. I'm friends with her husband. Cathy's friends with her now. There was never anything between her and I that would have made that impossible.
Well, and we had a few of my former dating partners come to our wedding and
Absolutely.
Really encourage us and genuinely wish us well. And how cool is that? And they've become good friends. So, social media, dating, real love, anything we can do to encourage positive rapport and connection in our lives, it's good for us. It's really good for us to have connection. It's super important to our mental health and our emotional well-being. That's what we have to say about social media.
Remember, the law of attraction is that you will find what you're looking for. So look for positive, happy, good stuff.
Do you want to change how you experience social media? Let us know what has helped you in the comments. And remember that any time is a great time for more love in your life.
Thanks for watching.